Hey everyone, welcome back to English to Go, where learning English is simple and enjoyable. We are so happy you are here with us today.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Julia. It is so wonderful to be here with you wherever you are in the world right now, whether you are on the train, at the gym, cooking dinner, or just taking a little break. We are glad you chose to spend this time with us.
Julia, I have to ask, did you do something different this morning? Because you walked in here looking extremely prepared, like alarmingly prepared.
Okay, fine. I will confess, I arrived 45 minutes early today because I was so excited about today's topic. I made notes. I made notes about my notes.
Notes about your notes. Julia, that is either genius or a cry for help, and I genuinely cannot tell which.
It is genius, Ryan, and you would know that if you arrived on time occasionally.
I was 3 minutes late. There was a situation with a coffee machine.
There is always a situation with a coffee machine.
It's a complicated relationship.
Brief pause. Both laughing, settling.
Okay, before we get into today's topic, we want to say a genuine thank you to everyone who has been liking, commenting, and sharing our episodes. It means so much more than you know. If you're enjoying what we do here at English to Go, please hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second and it helps other people find us.
Yes, and please subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. We are here every single week with fresh conversations, real vocabulary, and lessons you can actually use in your daily life. And if you have a friend, a colleague, or a family member who is on their English learning journey right now, please share this episode with them. One share can genuinely change someone's confidence. Okay, let's get into it.
Can I be really honest with you all for a second? And Julia, with you too?
Of course.
So this happened to me about 2 weeks ago. I was at a professional networking event, you know the kind, where everyone is standing around with a drink they don't really want, trying to look like they belong there.
I know exactly the kind.
And I walked up to this woman. We introduced ourselves, we shook hands, and then nothing. Complete silence. I could feel the silence. It had weight. It was sitting on my chest.
What happened?
I said, and I am not proud of this, I said, "So, the weather, huh?" That was it. That was my entire contribution to the English language in that moment. The weather, huh?
Ryan.
She said yeah and walked away. And the worst part, I completely understood. I would have walked away from me too.
You know what though? I think almost every single person listening right now has had that exact moment. That horrible moment where you can feel a conversation dying in real time and you don't know how to save it. And so you say something completely pointless about the weather or the room temperature, or you just stare at your phone.
Exactly. And here's the thing, it's not like I don't know English. Obviously, I know English, but there is a massive difference between knowing a language and knowing how to keep a conversation alive. Those are two completely different skills.
And that is exactly what we are talking about today, because the truth is this. Keeping a conversation going is a skill, a real learnable skill, just like grammar, just like pronunciation. And today, we're going to give you the exact phrases, the exact psychology, and the exact techniques you need to feel genuinely comfortable in any English conversation, whether you are meeting a stranger, catching up with a colleague, attending an event, or just chatting with someone new.
I genuinely wish I had listened to this episode before that networking event.
Well, now you have no excuse, and neither does anyone listening. Let's go. Okay, let's start from the very beginning, because I think the beginning is where most people go wrong. Ryan, why do you think conversations die? Like, what actually causes that horrible silence?
My instinct is to say nerves, because for me, honestly, when I'm nervous, my brain just empties. It's like opening a drawer and finding nothing in it.
Nerves are absolutely part of it. But here's something really fascinating that communication researchers have found. The number one reason conversations die is not actually a lack of words. It is something called a lack of conversational investment. What that means is both people are silently waiting for the other person to do the work. Nobody is actively extending the conversation. everybody is just responding minimally and then waiting.
Oh, wow, that is exactly what happened at the networking event. I think we were both just waiting for the other one to take charge.
Exactly. And the solution, the antidote to that, is to become what I call an active conversationalist. An active conversationalist does not just respond to what someone says. They extend it. They build on it. They give the conversation somewhere to go. They throw the ball forward.
And how do we actually do that? Give us the first tool.
Okay, rule number 1, and this is the single most important rule in casual English conversation. Never answer a question with just one word. This is the biggest conversation killer there is. Someone asks, "How are you?" and you say, "Fine." Done. The conversation has nowhere to go. It's a dead end.
And we all do this, especially in a second language, because we're focused on just giving the correct answer.
Yes, and instead, you want to use what I call the ANS-ASK method. You answer the question genuinely with a real human response, and you ask something back. You complete your answer, and then you throw the ball back to the other person. Let me show you. Someone says, "How are you?" You say, "Fine, thanks."
Okay.
Now the ANS-ASK version. "I'm doing really well, actually. It's been a busy week, but I finally feel like I'm getting on top of things. How about you? Do you have a lot on at the moment?"
See, that version makes me want to respond because you gave me something real, you showed a little personality, and then you invited me in.
And that is exactly the goal. A conversation is a game of catch. Your job is to receive the ball and then throw it back. Nobody wants to play catch with someone who just holds the ball and stares at it.
That is a devastatingly accurate description of what I did at that networking event. I literally just held the ball.
You held the ball and then you talked about the weather.
I talked about the weather, Julia.
Okay, moving forward. Our second essential tool, the open-ended question. Now, there are two kinds of questions in English. A closed question has a yes or no answer. An open question invites a full, detailed response. Let me show you the difference side by side. Closed question, "Did you have a good weekend?"
Yes.
Open question, "What did you get up to this weekend? Did you manage to actually switch off, or was it busy?"
Oh, actually, I went hiking on Saturday with a couple of friends. It was the first time I'd been properly out of the city in months. We found this trail that wasn't on any of the apps, completely empty, nobody else around. It was incredible.
Do you see that? The exact same person who gave me one word for the closed question just gave me an entire story because I asked an open question. And now I have 5 different threads I can pull on: the hiking, the city, the trail, the apps, the friends. The conversation has 5 places it can go.
That is actually mind-blowing when you put it that way. One question, 5 conversations.
Now, let me give you some of the most powerful open-ended question starters in English. These are phrases you can memorize and pull out in almost any situation. First, what's your take on? This means, what is your opinion about this? It sounds natural, it sounds confident, and it immediately signals that you are interested in what the other person thinks. For example, what's your take on working from home? Do you think it's actually better for productivity?
What's your take on learning a language as an adult? Do you think it gets harder, or do you think adults actually have some advantages?
Perfect. Completely natural. Second phrase, what made you decide to... This one is particularly powerful because it asks about motivation, and people genuinely love talking about their own decisions and why they made them. For example, what made you decide to move to this city? Or what made you decide to get into this field? It never feels too heavy, but it always gets a real personal answer.
I think this one is great for professional situations specifically. It's not too casual, not too formal.
Exactly. And third, how did that go for you? This is a follow-up phrase. After someone shares something with you, a project, a trip, an experience, instead of just nodding and moving on, you say, "How did that go for you?" It shows that you were genuinely listening, and more importantly, it focuses on their experience and their feelings about it, not just the facts. That shift is everything.
You know, I've heard native speakers use all 3 of these constantly, and I never really noticed them as tools. They just sounded natural.
And that is the best compliment a phrase can get, when it sounds so natural you don't even notice it. That is the goal. Okay, we have the foundation, the ANS-ASK method, open-ended questions, and our 3 starter phrases. Now let's go deeper, because this is where conversations go from functional to genuinely enjoyable, and where a lot of intermediate English speakers get stuck.
What do you mean by nuances exactly?
The small things, the tiny phrases and habits that native speakers use without thinking, the ones that make a conversation feel warm, connected, and alive, rather than like a job interview. The first one I want to talk about is something called an echo response. Let me show you.
Okay, go.
So I say to you, I've been really overwhelmed this week. Work has just been relentless.
Oh, that sounds really tough.
That's good. That's supportive. But now watch how different this feels when I echo a key word from what you said. Relentless? Oh, that's exhausting. What's been keeping you so busy?
Wow, I actually felt that differently. When you echoed the word relentless back at me, it felt like you were truly paying attention, like the word I chose actually mattered.
And that feeling of being truly heard, is what makes people want to keep talking to you. Echoing is one of the simplest and most powerful tools in conversation. You don't repeat the whole sentence, just 1 or 2 key words, the word they chose, the word that had the most weight. It says, I heard you, I'm with you, that word landed.
It's also a way of buying yourself a moment to think of the next question.
Honestly, yes, as a bonus, it does do that, but the primary purpose is genuine connection. Now, the second nuance I want to teach today is what I call bridging phrases. These are phrases that connect one topic to another. They stop a conversation from feeling choppy or abrupt when you want to shift direction or introduce something new. They are the glue between moments.
Give us some examples.
Okay, my 3 favorites. First, that reminds me of. You use this when something the other person says connects to a story or experience of your own. It signals we have something in common here. For example, oh, that reminds me of something that happened to me last year. I tried to do something very similar and it completely backfired, in the best possible way.
And that immediately creates a shared moment. You're not changing the subject, you're extending it into your own life.
Exactly. Second, speaking of which, this is a very smooth, very natural way to move from one topic to a connected one. You can use it in professional conversations, casual ones, anywhere. We were just talking about travel. Speaking of which, have you been anywhere interesting this year? It sounds like the transition happened naturally.
Speaking of which, we were talking about networking events, and speaking of which, Julia, do you have any specific tips for those kinds of situations?
Perfect. And yes, I actually do, and we will come back to that. Third bridging phrase. On that note, slightly more formal. You'll hear this in presentations, in meetings, in professional conversations. It means connected to what we were just discussing. On that note, I think it would be worth looking at the data more carefully.
So we have 3 bridging phrases to remember. That reminds me of, speaking of which, and on that note. Write those down. They will make your conversation sound immediately more fluent.
Now, the third nuance, and I believe this is the most underrated conversation skill of all. It is what I call the follow-up observation. Not just asking a question, not just answering one, but responding to what someone shares with a genuine reaction or thought before you ask your next question. Let me show you why this matters so much.
Let's do it.
So, I say to you, I've just got back from 3 weeks in Portugal.
Oh, nice. What did you do there?
Fine, perfectly polite. Now the richer version.
3 weeks in Portugal. That sounds absolutely incredible. I've heard Lisbon is one of those cities that completely surprises you, like nothing you expected at all. What made you decide to go?
Feel the difference? In the second version, Ryan acknowledged what I said, added something genuine from his own knowledge, a small observation about Lisbon, and then asked an open question. It felt like a collaboration, like we were building something together.
And I think the reason most people skip that middle step, the observation, is because they're already in their head planning the next question, so they're not really present for what's actually being said.
Ryan, that is a genuinely excellent insight. That is exactly what happens. We are so worried about performing well in the conversation that we forget to actually be in it.
Sheepishly, I speak entirely from personal experience.
We all do, and here's the thing that I want every listener to really sit with for a moment, because this might be the most important concept of today's episode. I call it conversational currency, and here's what I mean.
Tell us.
Leaning in, sharing something real. In any conversation, stories are the most valuable thing you can bring. Not facts, not credentials, not correct grammar. Stories. Because stories do something that nothing else does. They create an emotional connection. When you share a real story, even a small one, even a 30-second one, about something that happened to you, something funny, something surprising, something you learned the hard way, the other person's brain automatically connects it to their own experience. They think, that happened to me, or I can imagine that exactly, or simply, now I know something real about who you are.
And this is why small talk feels so painful sometimes, isn't it? Because people are talking in facts and information rather than stories. Like, I work in finance. I've been with the company 4 years. I live in the west of the city. It sounds like a form you're filling in.
Yes, exactly that. Nobody has ever felt a genuine human connection with a form, but everyone has felt it through a great story. So instead of I work in finance, you might say, I work in finance, which is funny because I genuinely failed maths twice at school. I kind of stumbled into it through a summer internship that I only took because a friend dared me to apply, and then I just never left.
That version makes me want to ask you 10 more questions. I want to know about the maths. I want to know about the friend. I want to know about the internship.
And that is the goal. A short story, 30 to 60 seconds, that is authentic, that reveals something true about you, and that ends with a natural hook, something that invites the other person to respond. That is your conversational currency, and everyone has it. Everyone has stories. You just have to be willing to share them. Okay, we have talked about the what, the tools and techniques. We have talked about the why, the psychology behind connection. Now let's talk about the how. Because in conversation, how you say something is often more powerful than what you say.
I completely believe that. Tone carries so much.
Let's start with something called rising intonation. In English, when we want to signal genuine interest, when we want the other person to feel that we are engaged and we want them to keep going, we often let our voice rise slightly at the end of a phrase. Not like a question, more like leaning forward. Let me show you the contrast. Oh, really? That sounds interesting. Oh, really? That sounds fascinating. Tell me more.
Even reading that on a page, you can feel the difference, right? The second one makes you want to continue the story.
And this is something that many non-native speakers miss, not because they lack vocabulary, but because when we are focused on getting the words right, the voice can go flat. And a flat voice in English reads as uninterested. And when someone feels you are uninterested in what they are saying, the conversation closes down. Fast.
I do this when I'm nervous. My voice goes completely monotone.
Most people do, and the solution is to practice speaking out loud, not reading silently, not doing exercises on paper, but actually speaking with expression, with energy, as if there is a real person in front of you. Your face, your hands, your body, all of that feeds into your voice. When you are genuinely engaged, the intonation takes care of itself.
What about when you are genuinely engaged, but you still sound flat? Is that possible?
Yes, and it usually comes from habit. In some cultures and some languages, a flatter tone is normal and even respectful, so speakers bring that pattern into English without realizing it. The fix is awareness. Once you know it, you can consciously warm up the voice. Practice phrases like, oh really, and is that right, and no way out loud, with as much energy as you can. It will feel strange at first. That strangeness is the learning.
We should all be practicing no way in the shower every morning.
I actually think that is excellent advice. Now, the second key element of how we speak in conversations is what linguists call back-channeling. This is the practice of making small sounds and saying short phrases while someone else is talking, to show that you are still there, still listening, still engaged. This is crucial in English. If you sit completely silently while someone speaks to you, even if you are 100% focused, they can feel like they are talking into an empty room.
What kinds of sounds and phrases are we talking about?
So we have the simple acknowledgement sounds. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Right, right. Yeah. Then we have the short supportive phrases. Of course. I can imagine. Absolutely. That makes total sense. I know exactly what you mean. And then the more expressive, warm responses. Oh, wow, seriously? No way. That's wild. I hadn't thought of it like that. That's such a good point.
These are things I hear native speakers say constantly, and I never once thought of them as a skill. I thought they were just filler, random sounds.
They are not random at all. They are one of the most socially sophisticated things we do in English. They're the sounds of a person saying, I am present, I care, what you are saying matters to me. Keep going. Without them, a conversation feels like an interview, like someone is waiting for you to finish so they can ask the next prepared question.
So it all comes back to the same thing, doesn't it? Making the other person feel genuinely seen and heard.
Yes, and here is the thought I want to leave you with before we go into our word tour. The most powerful thing you can do in any conversation, in any language, is to make the other person feel like they are the most interesting person in the room. Not by performing, not by faking it, but by choosing to be genuinely curious about them, by asking real questions, by giving real responses, by actually being present rather than preparing your next line.
And I think for non-native speakers, there's often this extra layer of pressure, like I have to get the words right or I'll look foolish. But what you're saying is the warmth and the curiosity come through even when the grammar isn't perfect.
Absolutely. Always. Always. In 20 years of working with language learners, I have never once seen someone fail in a conversation because their grammar was imperfect. But I have seen countless conversations fail because of a lack of genuine curiosity. You, all of you listening right now, you have curiosity. You are here, you are learning, you are trying. That is curiosity in its most beautiful form. And speaking of practice, let's do our word tour. This is where we review the key phrases from today and make sure they are locked in before you go.
Let's go. I've been paying close attention.
We'll see about that. Okay, here's how it works. I give you the phrase, you tell me what it means in your own words, then you give me a natural sentence. Ready?
Born ready. Number 1, the ANS-ASK Method.
The ANS-ASK method is a conversation technique where you answer a question genuinely and ask something back, so the conversation keeps moving forward naturally instead of hitting a dead end.
When my colleague asks how my weekend was, I'll use the ANS-ASK Method. I'll tell her about the film I saw and then ask if she's watched anything good lately.
Perfect. Next.
Open-ended question.
A question that cannot be answered with just yes or no. It invites a full personal response. It opens a door rather than closing one.
Instead of asking, did you enjoy the conference, I'll ask an open-ended question. What was the most surprising thing you took away from the conference?
Much more interesting, much more likely to get a real answer.
What's your take on?
An informal but confident way of asking someone's opinion. It signals respect for their perspective and immediately invites them into a real conversation.
What's your take on remote working long-term? Do you think companies will ever fully go back to the office?
That would work at a dinner party, in a lift, in a meeting, anywhere.
Echo response.
When you reflect a key word or phrase back to the speaker to show you were truly listening, you don't repeat everything, just the one word or phrase that had the most weight. It makes people feel genuinely heard.
You say, I've been completely exhausted this month. I echo back, exhausted? What's been going on?
Excellent. That immediately creates connection.
Bridging phrases. Speaking of which, and that reminds me of.
Phrases that connect one topic to another smoothly without the conversation feeling like it has jumped or become awkward. They are the conversational glue.
We were talking about food. Speaking of which, have you been to any good restaurants lately? I've been looking for a recommendation.
Completely natural. You could drop that into any conversation.
Conversational currency.
The authentic stories and personal experiences you bring into a conversation, the things that make you three-dimensional to the other person, that create real connection rather than just an exchange of information.
My best conversational currency for a work event is the story about how I accidentally ended up presenting to the wrong room of people. It's short, it's true, and it always makes people laugh and want to share their own embarrassing moments.
Wait, is that a real story?
Absolutely. Different episode.
We are doing that episode next.
Rising intonation.
When the voice lifts slightly at the end of a phrase, not as a question, but as a signal of genuine interest and warmth, it tells the other person, I am engaged, I want to hear more.
Oh, really? That sounds absolutely fascinating. Tell me everything.
Beautiful. The voice did all the work there.
Active conversationalist.
Someone who does not just passively respond, but actively extends a conversation, asks follow-up questions, adds genuine observations, brings their own energy and curiosity, and makes the other person feel like the conversation was worth having.
From today, I am an active conversationalist. No more dead-end answers, no more holding the ball, and absolutely no more the weather, huh?
We are going to get that phrase engraved on something and put it in this studio as a warning.
Please don't.
Too late, I've already decided. Before we go, we have a question for you, and we genuinely, truly want to see your answers in the comments. Here it is. Think of a conversation you have had, in English or in any language, that felt really good, that felt easy and warm and alive. What made it feel that way? Was it a question someone asked? A story someone told? A moment where you felt completely heard?
Write one sentence below describing that moment. It does not have to be long or grammatically perfect, just honest. It is great practice for exactly what we talked about today, and we genuinely love reading what you share.
And just so you know, next week we are building directly on today's lesson. We are going to talk about something very closely connected, how to exit a conversation gracefully in English. Because knowing how to start is wonderful, but knowing how to end, without it being strange or abrupt or trailing off into nothing, that is a skill all of its own.
I have, on more than one occasion, just walked away mid-conversation because I did not know how to close it. So I am very personally invested in that episode.
I know, I've witnessed it. It was something to behold. So subscribe and we will see you there. A brief pause. The tone becomes genuinely warm and heartfelt. Thank you for listening today. We know your time is valuable, and we really appreciate you spending it with us. Every person who shows up to these episodes, who practices, who keeps going even when it feels difficult, you are doing something genuinely brave. Learning to communicate in another language is one of the most deeply human things you can choose to do. It takes courage, it takes patience, and it is always, always worth it. We are so proud of each and every one of you.
English to go, take it with you.
Bye-bye, everyone.